I'll start recording class. Today we're going to talk about, hold on. Somebody just arrived. Who's this? Batista. Batista. Okay. Just in time. Por eso que tratemos de estar antes de 10 minutos, solamente se da 10 minutos de gracia. Ahora estoy dando chance porque, bueno, Ferrabone llegó ahí en la rayita. Ferrabone. Entonces, si ustedes entran después de 10 minutos, ya tienen ausencia. Pueden entrar, se les puede dar acceso, pero tienen ausencia y se les va a estar llamando. Ok, chicos. Now, en economía hay unos dos términos que se utilizan mucho, que se llama la demanda y la oferta. Oferta y demanda. En inglés, demand and supply. Supply, si lo traducimos, puede ser como, supply es como lo que te proveen supply, o recursos puede ser supply. Sin embargo, si lo traducimos al español no es lo mismo. ¿Ya? Supply es la oferta y demand sí suena como en español demand. ¿Ok? Muy bien, vamos a empezar la clase. Here it is. Okay, now today's class is about a very important term that is used in economics, and the term is demand. We always demand. Since we come to this world, we are always demanding. Demanding is like what we need in order to satisfy our needs. Remember that different kind of needs. Okay, we studied that during the first trimester. Okay, as usual, guys, over here is the key terms or vocabulary that you need to complete it in your notebook. Remember, we are starting the third trimester. Then in your notebook, you should fold a page saying third trimester. The topic is what is demand. These are the vocabularies and these are the objectives that we will try to explain it and achieve. Now, the first objectives is define demand, the meaning of the word demand, and outline what the law of demand says. So, demand has a law and the supply has a law. And we'll discuss it eventually. Explain how to interpret and create demand schedules and describe the role of market research in this process. And the last one, explain how to interpret and create demand curve. Okay, let's begin with the first term and the law. Now, the law of demand. Now, the law of demand is the force of supply and demand. Now, the force of supply and demand, these are two forces. The demand, la oferta y la demanda. The force of supply and demand establish the price that best serve both producers and consumers. Okay. Now, what is demand? Demand is the desire, like I just I explained. Is desire what you need, you need something to satisfy your needs. It says the desire is the desire to have some good or service in the ability to pay for it and the ability to pay for it. So it means that if you don't have your resources in order to try to satisfy, then you will have to find another way to satisfy that demand that you need. For instance, I would like to have a Lexus car, but because of my budget, I won't be able to afford a Lexus car. I used to have a Hyundai, but the service here in the car shop of the Hyundai is very expensive. It's more expensive than the ones over here in the, what's the other brand? Hyundai. Even though they are kind of, but I think it's because Honda is Japanese and Hyundai is, I think it's Korean. Yes, it's Korean. Also, but there is a big difference. Okay. Now, Define demand. Demand, what is demand? Demand is the different quantities of goods that consumers are willing, that's the word willing, or able, that's another important word, able to buy at different prices. There's an example. Bill Gates is able to purchase a Ferrari. Of course, he's a millionaire. But if he isn't willing to, if he isn't willing, he has not a demand for. It means that si no lo quiere, él simplemente no lo va a comprar. Debe reunirse, para esta condición debe reunirse el deseo y que tú tengas la disponibilidad. Willing and able to buy something. That is a demand. Let's move on now. Over here, there's an example. You may want the latest album for several of your favorite brands and at a price of between 10 and 12 each. You can afford them. Ah, yes, you have enough money to buy it for your album. It means a DVD or music album. Since you have both desire for them and ability to pay for it, then you do not have demand for the albums. You do have a demand for that album. Price is one of the major factors that influence demand, the price, a very important price. Now, the law of demand states, now, pay attention to these guys. This is very important. The law of demand states that when the price of a good or service falls, cuando el precio cae, consumers buy more of it. El consumidor puede pagar. Así mismo funciona. Si el precio baja, usted va a comprar un poquito más de ese producto. Pero si el precio sube, entonces usted no va a comprar tanto como a usted le gustaría. Simplemente lo que usted está dispuesto, lo que usted tiene, according to your budget. Okay, so that's basically the law. When the price goes down, then you may buy a little bit more than you need. But if the price goes up, then you may not buy as much as you will like to buy or you will need to buy. So that's basically the law of demand. Now there's another law, the law of supply. Is more or less the same, but it's the opposite. Okay. As the price of goods or service increases, consumers usually buy less of it. Now, if you're a millionaire or you have enough money, you don't care. You only buy, and that's it. On the other word, quantity, demand, and price have an inverse or opposite relationship. Basically, that's the short version of the law of demand. Quantity demanded and price have an inverse or opposite relationship. The opposite relationship. When one thing goes up, the other one goes down. Now when the other goes down, when the other goes up. Okay. Now over here, the same thing, but in a picture. Like it says, the arrow, when as the price falls down, the quantity demand goes up. Now the opposite, as the price goes increase, the quantity demand goes down. Okay, now example, price and demand. Now over here we're gonna use, in the book they use this example and they use this person. Charlie has been saving to buy a DVD box set of original Star Wars trilogy and it costs $35. Charlie goes to the Montclair Video Mart. She's disappointed the Star Wars setup is sold out and new shipment won't arrive for a week. She decided to buy some other DVDs so that she won't go home empty-handed. But she also decided to save roughly half of her money towards the future purchase of the Star Wars trilogy. As she looks through the movie's DVDs, she sees that most of those she wants sell for $15. How many will she buy at that price? Let's say she decides to buy 3 and keep the rest of her money for the Star Wars trilogy. It doesn't make sense. But what if each of the DVDs she wants costs $5? Shirley might decide that the price is such a good deal that she can buy 7. she would buy 7, like he said. As you can see, the law of demand is more than just an economic concept. It's also a description of how consumers behave. So it's the same thing like when well, let's use the girls. When girls goes to the stores and they see a blouse that they really like, or maybe shoes, and they see, oh, the price is really nice, she might buy a couple of them, or a couple of blouses or shorts or things like that. But if the price is too expensive, then she might only buy only one. That's the one, okay? Only one. Demand schedule. Now, that's another term. A demand schedule is the table that shows how much of good or service an individual consumer is willing and able to purchase at each price in a market. In other words, a demand schedule shows the law of demand in chart form. Now over here, there's a demand schedule. One column says the price of an apple per kilos, and the other one, the quantity that you will be demanded per kilos, okay? That is the chart that shows you. As you see, the price is going down, on the side of price is going down, and then at the same time that it's going down, the quantity is increasing. So that's the law of demand. Now there's another term. The market demand schedule shows how much of goods or service of consumers are willing and able to buy at each price in a market. For example, individual demand schedule. Okay, over here there's an example. Charlie demands a DVD can be expressed in a demand schedule. Let's take a look at the price list in 4.2. Over here, there's a picture over here. 1.2 below. How many DVDs will Cherry buy if they cost 20 bucks each? Now let's move on and let's go over here. Now if the price DVD is 30 bucks, she won't buy any. 25, she will buy one. 20 and goes on until let it be, like you see. If the price of DVD is 20 bucks, then she might buy 4 DVDs and movies. I used to buy a lot of DVDs when I was back in the United States. That was my hobby. Well, a lot of and there were a lot of very nice prices. Okay. Now I want to stop right here, and I want to show you a video that talks about these terms that we just review here. Okay, hold on. Let me show you now. By the way, you have already. Jesus arrived. Jesus Christ. You have some information already in the platform, news platform. So I suggest you to stop by and take a look at what I load up over here. Just watch this video, a couple of videos.
In this section, we'll be understanding about demand and supply, and in this session, the focus is understanding what is demand. What do we mean by demand? Let's say you have desire to buy a product, and that desire, if it is backed by ability to pay and willingness to buy that product, then we say there's a demand for the product. Okay, so demand means there should be desire, it should be backed by ability to pay and willingness to buy. Only then we can say there's a demand. Let's take an example to understand this. Let's say a person below poverty line aspires or wishes to buy a car now. Okay, we can say it's only a desire but not a demand. The reason being, he has no ability to pay. He has no purchasing power to pay for that car or to buy that car. Okay, so here it is only a desire and not a demand. But on the other side, let's say a rich man desires or wants to buy a car, then we can say it's a demand because he has a desire and that is backed by ability to purchase. That is, he'll be able to pay for that car. Reason being, here that desire is backed by purchasing power, right? So this is about demand. And what are the determinants of demand? That also we should understand. The demand mainly depends upon the price of that commodity or product, but there are also other determinants for demand. It can be the price of related products. Okay, so if the related product price increases or decreases, then it is possible the product what you are looking for, its price will also undergo a change. It is also linked with income of consumers. If income level of the consumers goes up, then the demand can also go up for the products. It is linked with the taste and preferences of consumers. Certain product, the demand will undergo changes not because of price, not because of income, but because of the change in taste and preferences. Then again, it also depends on wealth of the consumer. Okay, so there are other determinants like this, and so we can say demand is basically a function of, I've written something like equation PXPSYTW, where DX stands for demand for goods X, PX is the price of that goods, PS is the price of related goods, Y is income, T refers to taste and preferences of the consumers, and Y refers to wealth of the consumer. Okay, so this is the brief background about demand. In next session, we'll understand what is law of demand.
Okay, now let's watch this the difference. No, I wanna show you this one. Demand market. Oh no. The law of demand. Let's watch this one.
When you talk about demand, what comes to mind first is markets. A market is the platform that brings together buyers of different sorts and sellers of different sorts. They are the demanders and the suppliers in any situation that involves a potential exchange of goods and cash. The corner gas station, an e-commerce site, the local music store, a farmer's roadside stand. These are all markets familiar to us all. Now, let's go on to examine what demand is. Demand is a schedule or a curve that shows the quantities of a product that are purchased at various possible prices, other things equal. It shows you the pattern that a consumer follows when he is willing and able to purchase various amounts of a product at each of a series of possible prices during a specified period of time. Let's consider this hypothetical demand schedule for a single consumer purchasing bushels of corn. This table shows how the various prices of corn and the quantity of corn a particular consumer would be willing and able to purchase at each of these prices are related. At $5 per bushel, the consumer is willing and able to buy 10 bushels per week. But at $4, the consumer is willing and able to buy as many as 20 bushels per week, and so forth. Thus, demand is simply a statement of a buyer's intentions with respect to the purchase of a product. Let's represent the relationship between the price of corn and an individual's demand for this corn on a simple graph. Let's measure quantity demanded on the horizontal axis and price on the vertical axis. Let's plot and connect the 5 price quantity data points listed in the table with a smooth curve, labeled D. This curve is what we call a demand curve. Its downward slope reflects an inverse relationship that economists call the law of demand. So, what we understand is that, other things equal, consumers will buy more of a product as its price declines and less of it as its price rises. Having come to this conclusion, we must now ask ourselves another question. Why is there an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded? Actually, the law of demand is consistent with common sense. People do tend to buy more of something when it's priced low rather than when it's priced high. That's why there is always a rush at clearance sales. It's ample evidence of the law of demand. Buying depends on one more thing, and that's utility. It's been noted that in any specific time period, a buyer derives less satisfaction from each successive unit of the product that he consumes. This satisfaction can be termed marginal utility. Because successive units yield less and less marginal utility, he will buy additional units if only the price of those units is progressively reduced. We see, therefore, that consumption is subject to diminishing marginal utility. For example, A decline in the price of chicken will increase the purchasing power of consumer incomes, enabling people to buy more chicken. This is the income effect that price decline has on demand. At a lower price, chicken is relatively more attractive, and consumers tend to substitute it for pork, lamb, beef, and fish. This is the substitution effect that price decline has on demand. Income and substitution effects combine to make consumers able and willing to buy more of a product at a low price than at a high price. It thus becomes clear how price and quantity demanded are inversely related.
Very good. Okay, guys, let's stop right here, and then we'll continue tomorrow and try to complete this this topic that is very important in economy. Anyway, this in this chapter we'll discuss like three type of demand terms that are here and we need to deal with. Okay, guys, so it's 9:31. See you tomorrow, guys. Bye bye. Take care. Bye.